I'm never going to follow all those rules. We're back on the Morning Brew with Friends with Lonna Atkeson. I think this is the person who is probably every 4 years, you're the busiest person in the world.
Yeah, every 2 to 4 years, yeah,
right?
sort of, yeah, especially presidential elections, but those off years a little bit.
I'm sure. Well, Lonna is a political science professor at UNM, and we want to have her on the show this morning because for 21 years now you've been teaching this stuff. And this year, things have just gone off the rails in every way we can imagine, and I am having a blast watching it.
It's a rock concert to me.
Is it really?
Right, well, yeah.
Well, compared to every other presidential election in the last 21
They're
years.
all rock concerts to me.
I'm sure. So first things first, what is going on, and how does New Mexico fit into all of this, or do we even matter?
Well, you know, normally we don't matter very much because we're here at the end of the election cycle, the very last set of states.
In June.
That's right. So we select our delegates, but this time.
And we only have like, what, one delegate or something?
Oh no, we have a few more than one. It's not quite like the Electoral College.
Right.
But we do have, and it might be in both parties, right? Depending on what happens today. It's probably likely that Hillary will clinch the nomination soon in terms of pledged delegates, but it's still a possibility. But clearly on the Republican side, it's likely to go to the bitter end. It's an exciting race. Both are exciting races.
Right. Well, no one expected Bernie to do as well as he's doing.
Yes.
And because, I mean, he came out of the gate as a Democratic Socialist, which is everywhere else but Vermont.
Yeah.
That is almost an unknown term, really.
Yeah.
And nobody expected him to get any traction, and they thought he'd be a nice kind of counterbalance to Hillary for a long time. And then people started listening to his message.
Yes, he just took off. He took off in Iowa, did well in New Hampshire. I mean, he's had, she did great in the South, but then he's, got back on the trail as he moved into these other states. Right.
And then, of course, on the Republican side, the unlikely front runner is Donald Trump. From a political science perspective, I hear all the pundits on TV say, I've never seen anything like this. This is totally weird. From a political science perspective and somebody who teaches this, is it that crazy, or is this just something that happens every now and again and we just don't remember it? It's just not in our collective memory.
No, this doesn't happen now and again. This is completely unusual. All the pundits are absolutely right. The last time we saw a party collapse, I mean, we're watching the Republican Party collapse in front of us was the Whigs.
Is it really collapsing, or is it just retooling? Because I've talked to people, and mainly Democrats tell me it's collapsing, and Republicans tell me no, we're all right. We're just figuring out our message a little bit better. What really is happening there, do you think?
Well, I mean, we've never, ever seen a former party nominee come on television and say, I'm not going to support. If, this person, Donald Trump, if he becomes the party nominee, that's never happened before. Right? That's a pretty big step. There's all kinds of people out there in the Republican Party saying, I'm not going to vote for this guy if he's elected at a level we've never heard before.
I don't care how many delegates he's got, he's not my guy. Yeah.
I don't care. So this kind of conflict, there's always conflict because, we have intra-party competition, but not at this level. Not in this way. I mean, it's a constant, another new turn. I mean, even just yesterday with Cruz and Kasich
and they're trying to split everyone up.
Yeah.
Are we a Kasich state or are we a Cruz state? I don't remember which.
Well, we're supposed to be a Kasich state by their rules, but if we look back at a journal poll, which is the only piece of data we have, Kasich got 4% and Cruz came just under Trump.
So why are they splitting this? Do they have? It sounds like they're disorganized and have no idea.
Maybe they just don't have enough money. I mean, maybe this is a resource allocation issue, and it's like I can't, spend all the money to campaign in both those states. So maybe if we concentrate, we can do better. What is the strategy really here? Right.
What are the chances of the Republican Party melting down? I mean, is that really a thing? Could that be, like you mentioned, the Whigs and how that broke down and turned into the system we have today? I mean, is that what we're looking at? Are we looking at a third party? Are we looking at the Republican Party just saying, Trump, no Trump, whatever, we're still the same party?
Well, you have to reconfigure and you have to be responsive. I mean, the thing is, you have to be responsive to your electorate. Right. And so they're in a very problematic situation.
Right. Is their electorate really the people that are supporting Trump, or is their electorate really the people that are supporting a Kasich or a Cruz?
Well, they're really all of those people, right? At some level. I mean, they're all Republicans. They're all identifying to vote in that party. Right. And so they've got to find a way to unite and bring an extremely diverse and angry group of people together. That's difficult.
Are the Democrats in a better situation?
The Democrats are in a, it's also a similar situation. I mean, certainly we have this outsider, Bernie Sanders, who's not a Democrat, as you pointed out, just like Trump was not originally Republican. Yeah, so you've got these very parallel candidates, different sort of on the ideological spectrum, but the same kind of situation where there's clearly, polarization and pulling and anger at sort of what appears to be the establishment on both sides of the aisle.
Right. I know in New Mexico, we are a bellwether state. We have voted for the presidential candidate that has won every time. You think this year we're going to continue that trend, or are things just so nuts that there's no way to even tell?
Oh no, I'm gonna bet on New Mexico as a bellwether.
Still.
And yeah, we may not be, we may not be a purple state. We may not be as competitive as we have been. The national people like to think that we're blue. I don't think that we're blue. I think we're still very purple.
We have a Republican governor. We have a Republican House.
Exactly.
We have, yeah. New Mexico was on the front of that kind of Republican takeover 2 years ago, with the House for the first time in 50 years, the State House going Republican. We have a Republican governor now, after years of democratically controlled House, Senate, and years. And is that a shift that we're seeing across the nation? Is that something that, I see things like that happen, and I say, the Republican Party, great shape. Especially locally.
Right. But
I see that, and then I see this Trump thing, and I'm like, wait, nationally there's something going on. But local politics seems to be business as usual.
Yeah, there's some amount of business as usual locally, but I think there's, how the national politics affects local races can be important. It can affect those down ballot contests in particular.
They say that's always a thing, because if you bring out, in the general, if you bring out more Republicans to vote for a Trump or whoever, there's simply more people to vote for that person in the end versus the Democrats, and it all filters down into the...
It theoretically filters down, although that seems, those coattails aren't as strong as they used to be, so
is there such a thing now, too, as the... I've been hearing, like on NPR, they talk about it all the time, is the Trump Democrat is much like the Reagan Democrat in the 80s. Is that a thing? Have you noticed that when you're talking to people, when you're reading polls, when you're reading the research? Is that a thing? Is that not a thing?
I think it's hard to tell where independent voters are going to go. It's hard to imagine an independent voter who's voting for Bernie Sanders saying, well, now I want to go for Trump. But if it's a vote of anti-establishmentism, is it a vote of, we want somebody different? I mean, that could be an attractive quality if you're looking for character over, say, substance and experience.
What do your students say when you're talking to your students at UNM? Are they aware of how different this is? Are they involved enough to care yet?
Well, it's just starting to, sort of spike up here. The thing about nomination campaigns is until they get to you, you're sort of not tuning in. So people are just starting to tune in, just starting to get excited with the hundreds of people, the hundreds of young people registering to vote. I hope it's thousands. So people are very excited. I think there's a lot of excitement and enthusiasm, not as much as in 2008, right? No, Obama
that was a big year. There was a giant push for that.
And it's not as much about the future. There's a lot of, elections need to be about the future. And the anger and the hostility and the fear that, young people are really coming of age in a very different environment, one of less optimism about the future, and they feel that. Yes, the recession.
Yes. We'll be back in a couple of seconds. You see Larry is dressed up here. This is going to be so much fun. In a couple of seconds in the Morning Brew with Friends.